Today we're talking about Enneagram 7. So I basically started a series last year where I started discussing each of the Enneagram types with respect to their main characteristics, fears, motivations, integration and disintegration, as well as the groups or triads that these Enneagram types are part of. I talked about types 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and today I'm going to talk about Enneagram 7. So all about that in the next few minutes. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. So, Enneagram 7 is also known as the Enthusiast. This type is part of the Thinking Triad, together with Enneagram types 5 and 6. Now, the interesting thing here is that thinking and feeling in Enneagram are not the same as thinking and feeling in MBTI or in the cognitive function theory. There might be some overlaps here and there, but they mean different things. So Enneagram 7 is part of the Thinking Triad, but that does not mean that it can only be associated with MBTI types that are thinkers. I know a lot of feelers who are also Enneagram 7. So why is it part of the Thinking Triad? Well as being an anxiety type, this type is looking for safety and security, similarly to types 5 and 6. Basically, all of these tribes have in common the fact that they are trying to get away from the feeling of fear or anxiety by focusing on creating safety and security for themselves. And I would say that out of all of the three types that are part of the Thinking Triad, 7 is the one that people are usually surprised or more surprised about when it comes to categorizing it as a type that is part of the Thinking Triad. And why? Well, because on the outside, Enneagram 7 looks like a very energetic, spontaneous, happy-go-lucky type. It looks like a type that is often very curious, very exploratory, very likely to enjoy engaging in a lot of different things, and is not so obviously anxious or stressed or security oriented. But deep down, things look a little bit different, okay? So the main fear of Enneagram 7, fear is a very important concept in the Enneagram theory. The main fear is that they will experience pain, that they will be trapped in pain. And because of that, they do their best to avoid the possibility of feeling pain or feeling trapped and to find safety and security instead. But safety and security means something quite different to Enneagram 7 as compared to Enneagram 6, for example. An Enneagram type 7 often feels like they can create this safety and security for themselves by making sure that they explore a lot of different options. 7 is probably the most exploratory Enneagram type because they are always thinking in terms of what are the different ways that I can take, what are the different future perspectives that I can engage in, what are different paths that I can take, what are different ways in which I can do something, what are different activities that I can enjoy, what are the different concepts that I can play around with. This kind of changes depending on one's MBTI type as well, but generally the main theme is wanting to explore multiple different areas, multiple different possibilities. A lot of people associate Enneagram 7 with a type that struggles the most with the fear of missing out, because they seem to always think in terms of, well, if I choose this option, this possibility or this activity or this path, then what if I'm missing out on better ones? What if the other options, the other possibilities would provide me with more happiness and less pain? Now, obviously, this is a thought process that anyone can relate to a certain extent. I think I mentioned this in some previous videos that the Enneagram patterns, the Enneagram fears and motivations are things that are inherently human. So to an extent, we will resonate with all of them, or in different moments of our lives, we will resonate with all of them. It's just a matter of which one kind of dominates our personality, which one is the strongest, similarly to the cognitive functions. So this will be something that Enneagram 7 will often struggle with. deciding which ones of the many options that they have available is the best for them and which one they should commit to, because there is a strong fear that they will miss out on something better, something that will bring more happiness and more joy. Enneagram 7 is also part of the positive outlook group, together with types 2 and 9. So this means that when it comes to dealing with emotions, they are very likely to try to focus on the positive aspects. They are very likely to try to stay optimistic, to look on the bright side of things, and to share their happiness and their positive feelings with other people. Now, the problem is that, this sounds very good in theory. It's great to be optimistic, it's great to be positive. But something that positive outlook types struggle with, including Enneagram 7, is that they feel like they want to avoid dealing with their own problems, with their own negative feelings. And of course, when you don't deal with that, when you avoid that, when you procrastinate dealing with them, they come back to you. And usually the negative emotion is even stronger, so it's even more difficult to deal with it at that point in time. Okay, and then the other type of grouping that Enneagram 7 is part of is basically the other type of category, similarly to what I mentioned in my previous videos, the assertive triad, together with types 3 and 8. This makes Enneagram 7 a type that is likely to decide that something is what they want, that this is something that they want to focus on, something that they want to engage with. So they will go for it. They are likely to set goals, they are likely to clarify for themselves that this is something that they want, and they're likely to go for it. From another perspective, or another way to describe this is that assertive types are likely to want to move against other people in order to get what they want. This doesn't mean that they are more conflictual than other Enneagram types. It just means that they are more likely to focus on, choosing something and going for it, making things happen, making their presence felt in the room, rather than trying to always adapt to fit the needs of other people, for example. Okay, now Enneagram 7 in times of stress or disintegration, and Enneagram 7 in times of health or integration. So when Enneagram 7 is stressed, when Enneagram 7 is dealing with a difficult situation for a longer time in their life, we also call this disintegration in Enneagram. Of course, it's metaphorical. This type will move towards 1 and will start looking like an unhealthy 1, which means that it starts becoming much more critical, both of the self and others, and their usually positive outlook attitude and enthusiastic attitude becomes much more negative. It becomes much more nitpicky, critical, obsessed with details, obsessed with correcting things and improving things. It's as if they feel like nothing is ever good enough, nothing is ever satisfying enough, and they can become quite caught up in this mental space of, I need to control all of the details, I need to do everything myself to make sure that it's perfect, because otherwise I'm afraid that nobody will do it the right way, and I really want it done the right way. So basically, this is a general pattern that we notice. The type goes from being open and exploratory and enthusiastic and positive to being much more negative, much more critical, much more detail-oriented, even much more controlling than normal. However, in times of health and integration, Enneagram 7 moves towards Enneagram 5, and it gets some of the positive characteristics of Enneagram 5, which means that they are able to narrow down their area of interests to something more specific, that they are more willing to dedicate their time to, their attention to, they are more likely to commit to it. Basically, Enneagram 7 learns that if they just focus on everything at the same time, they will probably not get things done, they will probably not progress with things that really matter to them. So they will start understanding the importance of choosing something, committing to it, and taking it to completion. So they are more likely to find a topic that they really care about, or find something in their work that they want to specialize in, and then to kind of dig deeper and become an expert in that field. This is how they become more committed, more trustworthy, more dependable, more focused even on what they do and less likely to want to escape and run away from the possibility of experiencing pain in that particular area. Okay, so these are my thoughts on the general characteristics of Enneagram 7, fears, motivations, triads, direction of integration, and direction of disintegration. What else do you feel like mentioning when it comes to the general characteristics of this type? Feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thanks a lot for watching this video. See you next time with another video on typology.